Alright guys, in this unit we're going to study the conditionals, alright? Now here we have the PowerPoint that I have also included in Edmodo in the folder Quarantine Week 4, alright? And well, let's get started. The conditionals. Now, the first thing that you need to know about the conditionals is that they are super similar to Spanish or Catalan. The only difference, like always, is that English is a little bit more strict. Okay, so we need to understand the different forms that it can take, and you will see it's very easy to use. Now, we normally say that there are 4 different types of conditional sentences, or 3, because type 0 is not always considered a different type. But in this case, I prefer we study it as a separated type, and it will be easier to understand. Okay? Now, first of all, what is a conditional sentence? A conditional sentence is a sentence with 2 parts that we use in order to talk about things that could or could not happen. The first part of the sentence is the condition, and the second part of the sentence is the consequence. Okay? Now, the order of the 2 parts can be reversed, and we can have first the consequence and then the condition. The only difference is that if we change the order, the comma is eliminated, and that is very important. All right? Now, let's see the different types of conditional sentences we have. The first type we have is zero conditionals, and it refers to things that always happen. We normally say that these are universal truths or consequences or even routines, and we always use the same structure: if plus present tense, comma, present tense. For example, if you freeze water, consequence, it turns into ice. Or routine, if I work too much, I get tired. I say present tense because it could be possible to use the present continuous instead of the present simple, but the typical way to do this is by using the present simple. Okay? This is when we refer to things that are always true. For example, if you add 2 plus 2, consequence, you get 4. This is 100% true always. Okay? Now, first conditional. The first conditional is what we use to refer to things that will probably happen. Okay? The most typical structure is if plus present simple, and in the second part of the sentence, the future, will. For example, if we don't hurry, we will miss our bus. Si no nos damos prisa, perderemos el bus. Exactly the same in Spanish and in English. Now, apart from using will, we can also use a modal verb, or we can use an imperative, or we can also use going to instead of will. For example, if we don't hurry, we are going to miss our bus. And it's perfectly correct. You can choose whatever order you want. Okay? Now, these are 4 things that will probably happen. Maybe there is 70% chances that this will happen. Zero conditional is 100%. First conditional is maybe 70%. Okay? Then we have second conditional. Second conditional is for more hypothetical or imaginary situations. All right? This is when we use the past, and in the second part of the sentence we use would. For example, if I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. Si ganara la lotería, viajaría alrededor del mundo. We don't say si gano la lotería viajaré. It's possible, but it's more typical si ganara because, let's be honest, it's not so probable that you will win the lottery, right? So, in Spanish, we use the past, si ganara, and in English, we use the past, if I won. The only difference is that in Spanish, we use the subjunctive. Ganara or ganase is a subjunctive. In English, the subjunctive doesn't exist anymore. It existed in the past. So, it's very easy because we simply need to use the past simple. Okay? And in the second part of the sentence, we use would, could, or might, or any other modal verb. Okay? Now, the most typical is to use would. If I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. If they spoke English, we would understand them, etc. But sometimes we want to express more than simply would, so it's perfectly okay to use could or might. For example, if I won the lottery, I would travel around the world, or I could travel around the world, or I might travel around the world. Si ganara la lotería, viajaría alrededor del mundo, o podría viajar alrededor del mundo, o quizás viajaría alrededor del mundo. Right? So we have a lot of different options. The important part is that we need to use if plus the past simple in the first part and would in the second, or the order can be reversed. What is completely forbidden is to use if plus would in the same part of the sentence. Okay? Now, there is one exception to this, and it's the verb to be. I told you that in English the subjunctive doesn't exist. So, in the first part of the sentence, we simply use the past simple. With the verb to be, the subjunctive still exists nowadays. And the subjunctive is very easy. It's where for all the persons. You know that in the past of the verb to be is I was, you were, he was, we were, you were, they were. This is the normal form, past simple. The subjunctive is always where. Si yo fuera, right? So in English, when we use the conditional, we will never use was, always were. All right? That's the only exception we have with conditionals. Okay. And then finally, we have the third conditional. Now, the third conditional, you're going to study this in more detail next year, but I think it's better to start introducing it this year. All right? The third conditional is when we talk about hypothetical or impossible things, basically because they are in the past. And we always use the structure if plus had plus past participle, and in the second part, would have or alternatives, could have or might have. For example, if I had won the lottery last Christmas, I would have traveled around the world. Si hubiera ganado la lotería, habría viajado alrededor del mundo. ¿Puedo hacerlo? No, porque no la gané, right? This is in the past. But I want to say this sentence the same as in Spanish. After an exam, you can say, if we had studied harder, we might have passed the test. Si hubiera estudiado más, habría aprobado el test o podría haber aprobado el test. No puedo cambiarlo, pero aún así digo la frase, right? So the same, exactly the same in English. All right. So here I included a summary of the different conditionals we have. We have the zero conditional, present, present, things that are 100% true. First conditional, present, future. It means 70% true. Second conditional, past, would, or could or might. This is maybe, it depends, sometimes 10%, sometimes 20%, sometimes 30% possible. And third conditional, past perfect, would have. And this is impossible. It cannot change. It's impossible because it's in the past. All right? And then one more thing I included at the bottom is the word unless. Unless it's sometimes substituting if, and it means a menos que. All right? So when we use unless, we need to change from positive to negative one part of the sentence. For example, unless I win the lottery, I won't travel around the world. A menos que gane la lotería, no viajaré alrededor del mundo. All right? Okay, this is basically it. Now, it would be a very good idea if you watch this again, if you have any questions, and then you write to me with the questions you may have. It's also very important to practice the activities I have included. And together with the activities, I have also included more explanations of the theory.